circle. The drive.
Magnificent goal! Can you believe what we just saw?
All right, it is episode number 4 of Hockey Night Insider. Glad to have you guys along. Nick, Gismondi, Park, Kalmen, and a great one here. I feel like I say that every time, Parks, but we got a pretty good list here. We got Travis Snow, we got Mike Butters, and then we catch up with the guys from Jahm Hockey. And I don't know about you, but Travis Snow is probably one of my favorite all-time guys in the sport. It's been fun watching him grow from just a little guy to where he's at now.
I mean, not to glaze him up too much, but yeah, Travis has always been someone that I've looked up to in the roller hockey game. You know, he's always been such a positive person. You know, seeing him at the rink, we both play on Tuesday nights. Seeing him around, he's always just he's got a smile and he's shaking people's hands and he's always had that positive attitude. So really looking to have a good conversation with Travis today.
Yeah, of course, Mike Barter's a great guy. And then a real interesting thing going on with the folks at Jahm Hockey. Looking forward to catching up with them as well. And by the way, we won't tease it too bad, but big life change for Mr. Travis Snow on the personal side. So looking forward to talking about that too. How's things been with you? What do you're keeping an eye on the beginnings of the playoffs here, I assume?
Absolutely keep my eye on the NHL playoffs. Sorry to see, those Kings. Being the Ducks fan that I am, it was pretty sweet seeing them lose to the Oilers pretty big last night. Yeah,
Whoa.
It happened. Happened. We can tussle all the way through the even though the Ducks are out, I'm still going to throw them shots in there every now and again, right?
All right. We can talk about that later. It's a good thing we're separated by a few states right now.
I'm just hoping. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
I was just gonna
say you gotta love SoCal hockey, buddy. You gotta just get behind whoever's in.
Love it, I love it. I'm just down to tank every single year so we can get the top pick every single year. Actually, the third pick every single year, because even when we have the worst pick, the worst record in the NHL, we're not coming up with it. But we'll see if McJesus makes his way through the playoffs to take the Oilers pretty far. I know they're heavily favorited this year, but they always tend to choke in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens with that.
Interested to see what happens with the draft. I mean, there are a lot of rumors that Chicago could get the number 1 pick again.
Yeah, they're going to. It's all rigged. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. if the NHL Network guys are watching right now, I'm only kidding. It's totally fair. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we'll see. The Blackhawks can definitely have a bright future ahead of them if they do get that first pick again, which very well could happen. So we'll see.
I think the biggest not surprise for me was multiple parts of the opening game between Colorado.
It's been scrappy. It's been scrappy. It's been wild. Watching the Canes game yesterday was a little wild.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be a fun playoffs just getting started here. As for me, I have the Irvine Regional Tournament for the Terrapins going on this weekend, which is probably the biggest NARCH regional tournament. I think there's something like 130 teams that are coming together for a regional tournament. This isn't even a national.
It's incredible.
So obviously, huge stuff happened in Irvine this weekend. We have 3 teams playing for the Terrapins, and we're actually debuting our first women's team, which if we have a good showing, we're hoping to be in NARCH Pro come finals this year. So we're really hoping to have that women's pro team. We just got to have a good showing, and I think we have the roster to do it. So really looking forward to this weekend, both playing and kind of being coach manager for the other teams that the Terrapins have rolling. So a lot of fun stuff happened in the hockey world. The big 3 roller hockey tournaments are right around the corner. Definitely want to ask Travis about that. Obviously talking with Jahm Hockey, they have a new tournament that's kind of on the scene here. Looking forward to hearing about that too. So it's going to be a fantastic episode. Looking forward to having these conversations, Gizmo.
All right, well, let's get right to it. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Travis Noe joins Hockey Night Insider.
Guys, we have a saying, okay? How you do anything is how you do everything. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that before. How you do anything is how you do everything. As often or as many times or as many chances you have to put your kid around quality people, you have to take advantage of them. I'm a father of 3. My kids are all adults at this point in life, and the influence that Peter had over my son is something that to this day we can go back, channel, and talk about. And any time in life when you have a chance to be around a person that has these absolutes, the way he lives his life, there are a few people that are the genuine article. I am telling you with everything in my heart and soul, if you can have your children around people like Peter and his staff, they're going to be better humans. And yes, we want them to be better hockey players, and yes, we want them to be more successful in the classroom and all that, but I'm telling you, the thing that is not sold, he doesn't put on his flyers is, hey, be a better person. Get around Peter, be around the farm tough culture, and you're gonna be thrilled with what happens with your child.
Back with you on Hockey Night Insider, Gizmo Parks, and of course the legendary Travis Noe joining us. And Trav, I think my favorite part about doing this show with Parks is that it's like a reunion every time. I get to see all my buddies.
Totally. I know. I only get to see it feels like maybe once, twice a year if I'm lucky, kids. So this is a treat for sure. And you too.
It's a treat for me too, brother. Tell me what's going on in your world. What have you been up to? First of all, the personal stuff. How's things? Life good?
Life's great, man. Actually, this last year has a lot of changes in my life have actually occurred. All good though. But I'd been kind of working in the corporate world for the last 9 to 10 years with one company, like climbing the ladder, I guess, if you will, and making a good living and doing what I like to do. I loved it for a time, and I just realized over the last couple of years getting kind of burnt out on what I was doing, and at the same time, other opportunities and doors were opening in my life. And so it's funny, Giz, in some ways, like you're an inspiration in this way, watching you pursue your passion for years, man. And I know the grind that you've put in to do it. I don't think a lot of people have the courage to like really follow their joy, to follow what brings them life. And I think I was doing what I was quote unquote like supposed to be doing. All the things that look good on paper to make a paycheck and, have a title on LinkedIn or whatever, but it was no longer bringing me joy. And so anyways, long story short, I've been helping out with the youth at my church for the last 3 years and just getting really involved there. And I know you've got a passion for youth as well. And I basically this role opened up to take over the youth pastor role at my church. And I decided that felt more meaningful and purposeful to me than what I'd been doing. So I decided to leave my job and do this full time. It's also opened up space for some other things to potentially do some coaching stuff on the side for hockey and really just pour into the things that I love. So big shift for me, big change. Again, it probably doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but I'm kind of following in the path of joy and it's been beautiful. So anyways, I moved down to Laguna Beach where my church is and helping out with a great group of high schoolers here. Again, like I said, I'm going to coach some hockey on the side and doing some personal training and coaching, doing workout classes and stuff. And just loving life right now, loving kind of this new chapter, new journey that I'm on.
You're making the world a better place, brother, which is something that I've known you to do no matter what you were doing. So I'm really happy for you that you found the passion. That's fantastic. And your church is very lucky to have you. And I love to hear that you're going to get into coaching because you, sir, you could definitely influence some lives in that regard too.
Thanks, man. Yeah. And that's something I really need to lean into. And I'm glad you said that. This summer, I definitely want to find some youth programs that maybe need some help or just need a guy to step in because again, as I look and just remember the memories I had growing up playing Narch, growing up playing these tournaments, those are the most formidable memories of my life. And you think about, when I deal with the youth now, man, they just need outlets of positivity. They need things to keep them present, to keep them engaged. And sports is such a beautiful space for that, you know, to learn social development, to learn these life skills. And to be involved in that would just be awesome. And obviously, I love the game. I love the sport. So any value that I could add there, I definitely want to lean into more and more. So maybe this is a PSA. If there are any Southern California hockey programs out there that are listening that need some coaching help for this summer, please let me know. I'm happy to help.
I might know of a couple clubs that could definitely use Travis knows no doubt.
Yeah.
So, you know, Travis,
any of them.
yeah. Travis, all of this just sounds so on par for just the person that you are. Getting to know you the past couple years, every time I've seen you around the rink, you have just brought such a positive mindset. You know, obviously you have so many accolades over the years playing hockey. And it's never gone to your head. You have always been someone that's, you know, had your arms wide open for anyone that needs any assistance. When the Terrapins were a brand new team, you let us play at the Pama Ironman that happens during Christmas time, which was just so awesome for all of us to be able to play with, you know, the Pama pros and stuff like that. So you've always just had your arms wide open. And speaking of hockey and, you know, your youth and growing up and playing hockey, I want to know, what is your proudest moment that you've had? You know, obviously playing with Pama, playing with Team USA. What is your proudest moment that you've had when you look back on your hockey career?
Wow. Great question. Thanks, Parker. And thanks for saying that. I do really appreciate it and hoped, you know, that's what I want to. I mean, you're at a hockey rink. I can't think of a place that's more joyful than that. So it's a pretty natural feeling. I appreciate that and loved having you guys there. Man, it's crazy because, I mean, yeah, now I'm 34 now. So we're coming on 29 years of playing hockey. So there's a lot of great memories, a lot of proud moments. But I'd say like the ones that jump out to me, you know, I was not much, you asked me earlier, I was actually not much of a player as a youth. Like I was barely like hovering in the gold division, you know, AA. I was never a AAA, a really high caliber player. It wasn't until college that I grew late. I grew 9 inches my senior year of high school. And so I was essentially like, when I got to college, I felt like a completely new person and it really changed my game in a lot of ways. And so when I got to UC Santa Barbara, I feel like in a lot of ways fell in love with roller hockey and just loved the NCRHA and the college game. And so I would say there's a couple moments, if I could just pick a couple proud moments that come to mind, but the first being like playing college hockey with the same group of guys for my whole time there. There was a group of us my senior year that like got really close. We all lived together, went to the rink every single day together. And I just remember like these guys were ice hockey players that were transitioning to roller hockey. And I remember just being on the rink with them every day, teaching them how to like puck possess and bring it back on a 2-on-2 or like just like I was in some ways trying to help them see that the game can be played differently than the way they'd ever played it. And over the course of the year, watching that click for them and watching us like just transform as a team. We went from this team that was like run and gun, that was like losing most games, to by the end of the year, like we would just control the puck for 80% of the game and piss teams off and then we'd win. And so and we weren't the most talented. We just learned how to play together. And we won our college regional championship that year that had a ton of great teams, ASU, UNLV, Cal Poly, some guys that, you know, have played pro from those programs. And we just went on a run that regional championship. And the reason it was such a proud moment is, you know, I mean, you get that feeling when you win in a locker room and it's awesome, that feeling of winning. But I think the most special part about winning is when you look around and you see your teammates celebrating and you have those moments of hugging guys and loving them. And it just felt like we'd been through a journey together over the course of that year. Like we had no right to win that. And we actually like just developed as a group. And you know, I would be lying if I said the college parties back in Santa Barbara with the cup afterwards weren't also a pretty fun time. So we definitely we leaned into that for sure, and just had a great time. So that was a super proud moment that I'll never forget. I from that group, I've now officiated a couple weddings from guys on that team. I've been a best man in a wedding of a guy on that team. So like just still really tight knit group of guys. So that's a super proud moment. I would say the first time winning gold at IHF, you know, like the IHF experience was incredible playing for Team USA. You know, I was maybe 23 when we won it, and it just had a tournament where I had total connection with my line mates, and just was one of those tournaments where everything was rolling. And I think our line was like plus 12 or plus 13 over the course of the tournament. And we went down in the first half, and then I scored 3 in the second half for us to beat Sweden. And so that was like, I think from an individual standpoint, that was like a moment where I was like, oh, dang, I can play at like the highest level. That was kind of like, I think probably a self-proud moment where I felt like confident in my game in a new way. And then winning it in Alabama, I would say was another one because it's different, you know, getting to see with, you know, getting to wear the captain C with USA, like that's just such an honor. And, you know, I'm just humbled by that. And I don't take it lightly because a lot of guys want to be on that team, you know, and you're representing your country. And I think the thing about being, you know, trying to be the captain when you go on these trips is you're trying to cultivate. What I did with the UCSB team over the course of 3 years, you're trying to do that in 2 weeks. How do you like get guys to rally around each other? How do you get guys comfortable in the roles? And same thing when it comes together over the course of 2 weeks and you win it, you just look around and you're like, man, that just felt so good. And yeah, it's just awesome to win. So those are probably 3 that jump out to me right away. It's just like, just awesome moments and just grateful to have them.
Well, based on everything you just said, you're going to be a great hockey coach. I mean, I'm ready to play for you right now. So what did you do? I'm curious because I've always wrestled with this too. You know, I captain teams when I play. How did you turn that 3-year build a culture, build a bond? How did you do it in a matter of days, not a matter of years? What was your strategy?
You're talking more so for the USA standpoint, like
yeah. When you had to make that change, how did you get that room together so quick?
So I'd say the key with that, Gizmo, and I learned this the first year because the first year I was the captain was in Slovakia, and we won in 2017 that year. And I just remember like we had these like optional skates in the morning, and I kind of was just like, these aren't like we're not taking the option. Like let's use this chance to like all gel together right now. Like and let's make it fun. Like how do we enjoy an optional skate? And we're not going to go bag ourselves, but like let's go like feel it around with each other. And from that, it was like every tournament that we've gone somewhere, it's really easy for guys to kind of want to split off and go do their own thing. I want to go explore this area, or I want to go check out this bar or whatever. And I've just tried to always be like, hey, everything we do as a group. So like, we don't leave any man behind. We're all in this together for these next 2 weeks. And I think that like over the course of 2 weeks, that's where the chemistry builds because you have a couple outcasts on the team, but they're no longer outcasts when you're all together. And I think that you can feel that in the room as you get towards the end of the experience. And I think too, like one thing I try to do is, or at least hope try to do, is just every guy has a role, you know, and every guy on the USA team is typically a star player on their other teams. And maybe they're not scoring at the rate they typically score at. So I'm trying to like, I don't know, you're trying to encourage those guys with like, hey, you're winning battles today. We need that. Like, or hey, you're blocking shots or you're on the PK and we need a PK guy. And really just like speaking life into everybody finding their role and trying to encourage each guy and like what exactly they're doing and adding to the group. And I think that helps guys settle into like, oh, I don't need to score 3 goals for us to be successful. If I'm Billy Pascali and I'm winning draws and I'm winning every battle, like that's what our team needs. And so that's what I'm trying to like chat with Billy about on the side on how you feeling and encourage that in him. So I'd say it's a mix of like encouraging the roles of what we're doing on the rink and then off the rink, keeping it light, keeping it fun, keeping guys together. Like in Alabama, I did like a wiffle ball game every morning. Like we would just like wake up, get a coffee. There's this big courtyard of our hotel. I went to like a Target down the street, bought wiffle ball bats and stuff. And it just became this like goofy thing that we would do. But we'd all have a couple laughs to start our morning and like just chirp guys, you know, from the wiffle ball game or whatever. And I think keeping light on those trips like can really make a difference instead of guys just sleeping in or, you know, doing whatever. So that's something I've tried to do and I think has been, you know, hopefully, you know, helpful.
Looking back on your Instagram, I think you made a post before Narch finals last year that said roller hockey. It's a lot like ice hockey, except more fun. So I think that has it wrapped up right there. And also, I saw a comment that you made. The Lopes just actually won the D1 national championship over in Maine. And I saw you put a comment on one of their videos talking about how the team who has the most fun normally comes out on top. So it's awesome to hear you talking about, having fun and mixing that in also with, having those conversations with your teammates. Speaking of Team USA, who are you most looking forward to playing with this new upcoming roster that was just announced like a week ago? I don't know if it's officially announced yet, but who are you most looking forward to playing with?
I love you say that because I'm all about I'm actually a pretty serious guy by nature. So a lot of times when I'm saying that, I'm preaching to myself because I know I'm at my best when I'm just having fun. If I'm too serious, I'm too hard on myself, every mistake, it's like you don't play as loose. And so, congrats to the Lokes, by the way. Those guys just upset Lindenwood. So shout out to those boys. They looked like they were having a blast. They're all selling and stuff. And so that was the reason I commented. I'm like, you guys that's what it's about. Have fun. Like you're there. You might as well enjoy every moment of it. So I love that. But, I could play with anyone on this team. You kidding? Like we're loaded. So, the interesting thing about these Worlds tournaments is you got to find chemistry fast. So there's not a lot of if it takes 3 games, you only get 3 round robin games and then you're on to single elimination stuff. So you got to find it quickly. So I'd say I'd love to play with someone that I already feel kind of comfortable with or know their tendencies a little bit. So I was really thrilled to see Thon get the nod, to get kind of added back into the mix. I think it's been years since he's been on the USA team, and he's rightfully earned his way back on to the roster with the way that he's played the last couple of years. And he and I don't actually, it's funny, we're on Pama together. We don't play together that much, mostly because I had such good chemistry with Junior. That's who I typically play with. But Ethan and Junior are really similar in a lot of ways. They see lanes. They're really creative players that open things up. And so I would be interested to see what it would be like to play with Ethan. I think we both have to have talks about how we would help each other defensively because we both might be liabilities because we're both more offensive. So hopefully Shaq's not listening to this podcast, but we have to find ways to I think we'd have to prioritize battling and supporting each other defensively. But I think offensively, I think we could probably create a lot of space for each other. So I'd be interested in playing with Ethan. Scotty Savage made the roster, which I'm really pumped about that. He's a dear friend of mine and just love that guy. And he and I play together. We have a game tonight. We play together all the time. And I feel a comfort level with him. Plus, he's super solid defensively. So when I'm lacking on the, or when I'm trying to turn the other way for a rush, I know Scotty's a last minute back kind of guy. So I think those are 2 guys that I'd be pumped to play with. But we'll see what Coach Tim has in mind. Tim's been great at finding the right mixes and combos, so he'll know what to do. But I'm just excited for whoever he puts me with.
Make sure you give Scotty a big hug for me tonight too when you see him. That's gonna be awesome. You guys are gonna be great.
I will. Thanks, man. Great dude.
What's the rest of the summer looking like for you, tournament wise? Where are you gonna kind of turn up at? I know obviously you got a lot of different things going right now, the life change, everything like that. But what's sort of what's the 30,000 foot view of your summer schedule looking like?
Yeah, it's coming. It's going to be here before you know it. So I'm actually it's time to start dialing it in. I think it's right around May where I'm like, oh my gosh, I really need to get reps and feel the puck a ton because we kind of get this dead space in roller a little bit. It feels like, we have winter nationals and stuff, which is great, but there's a few months off. So as far as looking at the summer, there's rumors of Pama going back out to Europe for this big IHS tournament. We went to Switzerland last year and competed against some of the European teams out there and won and had a blast there. So there's a tournament potentially taking place in Czech Republic in June. So fingers crossed if Pama's going to do that, then I'd love to be a part of that team or just that trip. And then the big 3, Tours, Pama Pro, Narch, those are the 3 that we're eyeing down. It's a dream of Papa Mike Nijars for us to win all 3. That's what that's every summer we go into it with this vision cast of we're going to win all 3. And we've been in the final of all 3 multiple summers now. We've been in the hunts, I think every summer to some capacity, but we've never strung it together for 3 in a row. So from a 30,000 foot view, that's what I'm dreaming up right now. That's what we're trying to, how do we win that first one and then build from there and then, get to Pama Pro and put our stamp on it. So, and then Worlds is in September this year. So that's interesting because normally it's kind of midway through the summer. And this year it's at the very end. So hopefully all the boys will be super sharp by September. But Worlds is going to be in Italy in September. So looking at potentially 4, maybe even 5 big tournaments this summer, and really looking forward to it. I might get out to Africa Cup again if I can. That was 44 hours of travel to get there last year, but I got the chance to go out to Namibia and play in the Africa Cup, which was a blast as well. So we'll see if the schedule permits. But right now, that's kind of what it's looking like, and I'm fired up to get it going. I need to get my game dialed, to be honest. I feel good physically. I'm in shape fitness-wise, and I just need to start feeling the puck and get my shot dialed. But I'm stoked.
Do you need like an assistant or somebody to carry your bag for you, or just be your hype man? Or I'll just announce like everything you do. I'll just follow you to Italy and then to Africa and then multiple other places in Europe. Maybe we'll throw Bermuda, Bahama. I don't know, maybe something else in there. I'll just follow you around all summer, bud.
Uncle Gibbs, if you want to be my like life coach /
yes,
yeah, like hype man, I'd have you on board. Let's do it.
I accept. I'll be there right with you, buddy, the whole way. I can't wait.
Love it.
Now, bringing up the big summer 3, I know we don't have too much time left, but I was just thinking to myself, Trav, if you were given the keys to the kingdom of roller hockey, and you could make any change you want, whether it be the tournament formats or really, I'll leave it open ended for you. What
Unification?
Would you change? Yeah, what would you change in roller hockey, Mr. Travis? No, I'd love to hear your answer.
Wow, it's a great question. I've thought a lot about it over the years, so I feel like a lot should come to mind. Not that I I love the game the way it is. I would say, Parker, I think for me, this might be a simple one. I almost want to choose something that I actually think like really could happen. And my wish would be that, particularly during the playoffs and finals, that the refs would really put the whistles away, like almost completely, like let it be a bloodbath. The way that roller hockey works in nature is like cool and all of that, but it never gets out of hand. And like, yeah, call the blatant high stick or the trip that needs to be called, absolutely. But my whole thing is like, I don't like seeing it end. Teams that just have a strong power play and get 2 power play goals and win a game 2-1. I want to see like a really tough, gritty, whoever battles, kind of like you see in playoff NHL hockey, right? Like it's the team that has that ends up winning. And I'd rather see it be 1 4-on-4 and a really like fast paced, hard, fast game rather than a chess match waiting for power plays. I think it gives our, the people that are watching, the fans, a better look into like the speed and pace. And I just think it would prevent teams from sitting on the puck and slowing things down and just waiting for power plays. So I would say like it almost be this, I don't know if you couldn't affect a rule, but if we kind of knew that the refs were like, hey, you guys are going to play, we're not calling shit. I think that would be kind of an exciting way to really see who's got the best team 4-on-4. So that'd probably be the thing that I think you could implement that I would change.
Love it. Glad I asked. Great answer.
Great answer. Travis, this was fantastic, buddy. Maybe one of my favorite interviews we've done so far. You're a class act, buddy. You're incredible. You're an incredible talent. You're an incredible inspiration to everybody. And I'm real proud of you, what you're doing on the personal side too. But it's going to be a lot of fun watching you this summer. And certainly can't wait till it up. I know I speak for all of us when we say it, the roller hockey world, the hockey world is better with you in it, brother.
Thanks, man. Just game's giving me a lot. Love getting to do this with you guys. So thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure. Giz, can't wait to have you on the road with me this summer. And yeah, let's make it epic. Let's make some more memories. Let's enjoy every moment of this game and hope for some fun storylines this summer. So keep doing what you guys are doing. I think it's awesome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being a part of it. You are the man. Travis No, ladies and gentlemen. You got to love the guy. Make sure if you get a chance to see him, do so. But shout out to those Southern and Cali hockey programs. Let's go. That's a win right there, and pay him whatever he wants. So, but he's probably not going to take any money. So, there's your other win. Travis, thank you so much, buddy. All right, Hockey Night Insider rolls on. Don't go anywhere. We got more coming up for you right after this. We'll be back.
It happens in a flash.
A hush.
The crack of thunder.
Practice paid off.
Preparation made good.
when everything we work to build
takes flight. In that moment,
Time stops.
through clouds of doubt,
we emerge.
Our highest.
And best selves.
Together, we climb.
Every day.
together,
We reach from within.
For a higher calling.
Together,
We soar.
This is our purpose.
Our season.
our time.
we are Lopes, rising.
Hello and welcome back to Hockey Night Insider. I am your host, Parker Kalmen. I'm here with Mike Butters. Mike, pleasure to meet you. We were just talking a little bit before we got this show started about some of your roller hockey history. Tell us about the early days of roller hockey and what it was like playing for the Anaheim Bullfrogs.
Well, I was first of all, thanks for having me on the show. Really excited to talk some puck with nibs on it, right? And the early days were a blast. I mean, I had no idea. I read an article. I was sitting at my home. I just retired from ice hockey, sitting at home in Winnipeg, not sure what I was going to do with my life. When I was studying to be a stockbroker, I get a call from Chris McSorley. And Chris says, we got a pro league going on, and I'm the coach of the Anaheim Bullfrogs, and I'm telling you, Butsy, there's going to be 15,000 people there, and you're going to love it, blah, blah, blah. I said, hey, Mac, hang on a second. I go, Dad, pick up the phone. You're going to love this. McSorley's lost his mind. And my dad picks up the phone, we listen in, and he's telling me this whole story. I'm like, sure, Mac, whatever. I'll come. Yeah, not thinking it was I could have a fun summer in Anaheim, the beach. I'd never been to California, right? Had I know, I had no idea that it was everything he said was actually true. But I had never really rollerbladed before, right? So I played all these years of pro ice hockey. I went down to the Minnesota with my parents for the weekend. I bought a pair of those plastic rollerblades. You know, the old ones with the boot, that they're just garbage, right? And I skated around for 2-3 days at home in my driveway on these things, thinking I'm ready to go. And I show up, and some of the names, Mike Callahan, Steph Desjardins, Joe Cook, all these guys were down there trying out for Anaheim. And I show up in these gray, shiny rollerblades, where the wheel's sticking out too far. And it was did a header right away. Tried to put the brakes on. Of course, I never knew how to stop. And but Mac whipped us up into shape, and our first game, I think we had just shy of 15,000 people at the game, and it became sort of an overnight success in not only in Anaheim but in SoCal in general, and even the Southern U.S. And we were featured on a bunch of in some movies, some TV shows. Everyone was getting endorsement deals, so the thing was just massive. I mean, the Ducks hadn't hit Anaheim yet, so we were kind of it. Of course, the Angels were there, but I mean, in the off season for hockey, it was kind of a novelty, and the people that came in loved it. So we just had a great ride that summer.
As someone who's been around the game for such a long time of just hockey in general and seen kind of the different iterations of it, do you have kind of any thoughts on, you have roller hockey, you have street hockey, you have ball hockey, you have ice hockey. Do you have any thoughts on kind of the differences or similarities between all of these different iterations of hockey?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a lot of guys, when they heard roller hockey, these hockey purists were all roller hockey. It's not that good. It's not the same. And ball hockey's not the same. I'm not one of those guys. Like I think that hockey in general is just the sport itself with a stick, whether it's a ball or a puck or any incarnation of that is it's fun to play. I mean, you watch little kids when, you give them a tennis racket or something else, you hand them a hockey stick and they can whack something around, they're hooked for life. And I think that's how, many guys get into it. But roller hockey for me, was fantastic because I handled the puck, the way the game's laid out and the no blue lines and all that kind of stuff. I handled the puck more playing 1 year of roller hockey than I did probably 4 or 5 years playing ice hockey. So your skill level with the puck increases a ton. Your awareness of the game increases. And I think the sports are very complementary towards each other, and I think you saw during the 90s, especially when roller hockey took off, you saw a big boom, not only with roller hockey rinks all over California and other southern states, Florida, et cetera, Texas was big, but you also saw a lot of ball hockey rinks that came up, and there was sort of a progression. You know, the kids that couldn't skate, they played ball hockey, right? And then when they got good enough and that their mom, dad bought them some rollerblades, they got into the roller, and it just kind of progressed that way. And you know, you guys were probably a lot younger back then, but I can tell you in the 90s, I mean, every tennis court in California was a roller hockey court. They converted them all, and it just was crazy how much interest there was in the sport. And it's so cool to see it's still going on today.
Well, that'll bring me to my next topic. I know you've played some pro beach hockey as well, which is obviously another unique iteration. I'd love to hear about the early days from your perspective of pro beach hockey.
Sure. Yeah. So I played my first year in the RHI in Anaheim, and right near the end of the season, there was a guy that he was a former wrestling promoter, and I grew up watching wrestling. His name was David McLean, and he was a friend, I think, of the owner of the Bullfrogs. And he comes up to me after a game. We had at the pond, we had this lounge where the players would go and stuff. And this guy comes up to me, he goes, "Hey, Butters, David McLean, how are you, buddy?" He goes, "I got the perfect show I'm building, and it's just for you. And you're going to be a star, and it's great. And there's like girls and bands and raps. And this is the way he sold it, right?" And I'm like, "Hey, I'm down for whatever." I mean, I left the prairies in Winnipeg, Manitoba to go down to Anaheim and play roller hockey. I mean, I'm up for this. Let me know what you got. And so sure enough, just like when Chris McSorley called me, we go down to the beach and we did a couple test runs on this thing, and we're looking at this thing and it's got ramps on it, and our gear is outside of our bodies, and it's like neon colored and stuff. And a lot of guys know this. Most guys know me from the Gargoyles, but I actually was originally going to play for the Web Warriors. And so I still have that gear. I've got all this neon green and red and, Christmas tree type stuff. And then I ended up with almost a set of every team's gear because they weren't sure what team they were going to put me on. But David McLean, and he's got Women in Wrestling Now, which I still watch, and I ended up directing that show. We'll talk about the film stuff later, but he had a vision which was really cool. And he said, let's take traditional ice hockey. It's popular. Let's take roller hockey. That's even more popular. Let's throw in the blender, add some like rock bands and hot chicks and on the beach, and come up with this and raps, because you guys may not remember, but X Games was really big back then. Tony Hawk, he's just getting going. So the ramps were a big thing, right? So he combined all this stuff and the essence of playing almost like shinny. Like, so when we grew up playing hockey, you play on the streets, you kind of made up your own rules. It's like, okay, the first team to score 3, this guy goes in, but if this guy's late and you're playing a guy short, then you got a 2-goal lead. We just make up rules, right? And that's what Pro Beach was. Like, after a goal, you pull it out, and guys got to get up on the ramps and wheel around. And originally the guys weren't using the ramps, and David comes to me and he goes, "What do we got to do? We got to get the guys in the ramps." And I just said, "David, make it a rule. Make it." And so he came up with an idea that after a goal, you have to have at least 2 guys go up and down. And we had stoppages of play. And during the stoppages, they'd pick a guy. We always pick the young guys, right? The young guys on the team, where they would do a ramp contest, and the crowd would cheer, and he'd win a gift certificate or something. But it was cool. And so we all went down. It was all in Huntington Beach, and we were all sponsored by either a restaurant or a bar. And again, that summer, we walked around. Chris McSorley's Marty was the color commentator of it. And I ended up doing color with Chris Madsen after the first year, I think, because Marty was back playing or coaching or something. But there was a celebrity factor to it. We had Cuba Gooding Jr. come down, and Sean, he was buddies with Chris Nelson. And yeah, so it was just the summer of fun, just like the RHI was. This was sort of the next extension. And I used to go in, so I worked in the film business, right, for years, from 93 till today. And I would go into auditions during while Pro Beach had its run, and I'd be looking over, and people would have it. The casting directors would have it on TV. And I said, "Oh, you're watching Pro Beach hockey?" And they're like, "What?" The hockey show. And they go, "Oh, we just like the background. We like the trees and all the bands and stuff in the background." I was like, they didn't even know what they were watching. But the last cool thing about that is they were doing what do they call it? Ratings on TV. And it was rated, the average rating was higher than any shows they had on ESPN hockey. So it was cool. Like, you know, in the day, it was Paul Correa, Timo Solani. These were the hockey stars in the day. And they had what's
my heroes growing up.
And they'd ask them, right, but they would ask guys in the SoCal area, like, do you know who, you know, of course, everyone knew Correa, but do you know who Eric Rice is? Like Bones Rice, you know, Brett Kurtz, you know, Christian Lalonde. And they all knew these guys. Now, I'm probably talking to some of your audience. They're like, who the heck are those guys? Well, these guys were the Pro Beach guys, and everybody knew who they were. You know, they walked around like rock stars, which was just a great time to be in SoCal, and roller hockey was at its boom. Like you saw people up and down the what do they call it? You know, the trail that goes all the way from Dana Point all the way up to Malibu. You know, they have that bike trail or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well, you got people rollerblading all over it, so it took off, and you know, again, I go back to David McLean. He was super smart. It was the first time I'd seen a sport where you weren't cheering for a city, right? You were cheering for the Web Warrior. He tapped into every part of people. So I played on the Gargoyles. Okay, the Gargoyles were purple and black, and it was goth, and some guys got into it and they painted their faces and stuff. And then you had the Web Warriors, who kind of the nerdy guys, you know, and you had the heavy metal guys. The team was called Heavy Metal, the Dog Pack, and that was Chris Nelson's team. So you tapped into all these different segments of society, right? So everyone kind of cheered for what they kind of thought was cool, you know? And to me, that was ingenious. Like there were no cities. There were just themes that you were playing. The salsa was great. You know, I think Chelios's brother, Steve, wore a sombrero out there in the warm-ups and stuff. So again, we just had a blast. I mean, the hockey was real. The fights were real. The game was real. The hits were real. But in between, we just had a blast doing it.
Well, I mean, I could hear you talk about this stuff all day. I do want to ask you. You mentioned Mike Callahan earlier, who's a friend of the show. We had Mike on. We were talking all about this, and you mentioned a bunch of guys that you were hanging out with back in the day. Were you friends with some of those guys back in the day that were on the opposing teams? And are you still friends with those guys today?
Oh, heck yeah. Like, our big rivalry was the LA Blades, and I ended up playing for the LA Blades a few years after Anaheim. But, Mike Callahan and I used to play poker every other Friday for years. And until I moved, and Brad Scholl's another guy that I was stayed really good friends with, ended up playing with him in LA. Chris Nelson, Christian Lalonde, played with him, played against him, Shane Arsenault. Brett Kurtz, Eric Rice. I mean, these are guys that I stayed in touch with long after both Pro Beach and RHI were done. I mean, I still talk to a lot of them today, and I got to meet some new guys that I didn't know from ice hockey. That ended up playing Pro Beach. Guys like the Hammer and guys that I fought in pre ended up being buddies. And then there were guys that never played pro hockey, like the Mullen brothers, and
I even didn't they put you in this? Didn't they put you in the same hotel against the teams that you were playing against too? So you kind of had no choice.
Oh, yeah.
You had to make friends with these guys.
Well, sometimes you did, sometimes you weren't friends in the hotel. There was a few Donnies that broke out, but for the most part, we left it on the ice. And a lot of people don't know this about Pro Beach hockey in particular, is we got paid per game. We were paid, you go in the weekend and you do 5 games or 4 games, and I can't even remember what it was, but we got paid per game. And we decided, I think in the second or third year, we all got together and said, you know what, let's handicap this a bit, and let's, instead of all getting paid the same, let's call it wager on the game and say the winning team got X. And I can't remember what it was, $500, and the losing team got $200. It was supposed to be everybody was equal, but we put something on it. And I think that's what, really
made it more interesting.
Intensity. Yeah. And we, because we hung out after, we were all sponsored by a restaurant bar. We'd go out and eat and have fun together after the games and stuff. But the games were pure. Like, if anyone thinks that they were fake or kidding themselves, they weren't. They were real. And that was something that we as an entire group, all players playing, decided that we were going to do to make it something. Now, in the RHI is a lot different. I mean, you're playing against cities, you're flying, you're going other places, and you're trying to win games. You try at all costs, and there were some old rivalries from ice hockey that spilled into roller and et cetera, et cetera. And so, it was a little more closer to, say, playing ice hockey than Pro Beach was. But both were the games themselves. I mean, that's why you play weights with everybody.
Mike, I could literally hear you talk about this all day. Unfortunately, we do have just a little bit of time left. And I want to ask you bit of a loaded question, but I want to hear your perspective on just the game of hockey in general. I want to hear from you, being involved in this game, making tons of connections. It sounds like, your love for hockey is there. And I just want to hear kind of where do you see hockey headed in, the next 20 years as it progresses forward with all the different iterations?
Well, I think I told you earlier, I'm not a purist. I'm all for the evolution of sport and stuff like that. I was a guy that wasn't a guy that could score 50 goals. I had to take care of the guy that scored 50 goals, if you know what I'm saying, right? And I know a lot of guys are saying that part of the game is gone and it's different. And it is different. But you know what? The skill level of these guys today is absolutely amazing. It's phenomenal. Like even down to your third, your fourth line guys, still called fourth line guys, your third set D, have incredible skill. The skating, it's a super fast game. And I love where it's headed. I mean, I enjoy the game now, watching the game. I'm a fan now. I worked in the National Hockey League for years for mostly with the Tampa Bay Lightning and in scouting and management. And I used to watch, as a job, I'd watch 135, 140 games a year. Now I just watch because I'm a fan. I'm a huge Winnipeg Jets fan. I live in Seattle, so I'm a Kraken fan. I'm always going to be a Jets fan. But second to that, I got to cheer for my hometown Kraken here. And just the skill level of the guys, the pace of the game, the in-the-game experience. A lot of these guys, a lot of the teams, some of the teams do a really good job of entertaining fans and bringing them in. So, I want to know what's next. I watched a documentary years ago and they were talking about Gretzky and all his records and stuff like that. And I can't remember who it was that said it, but he goes, you know what? I don't know if there'll ever be a guy to break Gretzky's records, but if there is, I hope I'm alive to see it. And that's kind of my excitement for the game is if there's going to be, guys that are going to break records and stuff. Now you're looking at Bedard and he might be that guy. I want to see what's next and what they're capable of because it's just it's an exciting game. And, on the roller hockey end, everything's cyclical. I truly believe there's been talk of RHI coming back. There's been talk of Pro Beach coming back. I've been asked if I would be involved in some way, not as a player, obviously, but involved in some way. It would be back behind the mic or that. And I'd be all for it because it was some of the funnest times of my life. And it helped shape a film career. I own a jewelry company now. I got to do a plug here called Butters Bijou. Who knew a hockey guy that doesn't wear jewelry would become a jeweler, right? But that's what I do.
Love it.
I'm passionate about that. But if that, and it affords me the time to go out and watch games. But I think roller hockey, anyways, going back to that, I really think that something like RHI or Pro Beach will come along again because the sport is just too good to fade away. And you're a young guy playing, you know how much fun it is. So I can't wait to see what's next.
Mike, your passion for hockey is just so valuable. Really appreciate you coming on here and sharing all your experience of being involved in the early makings of roller hockey to Pro Beach hockey to working with, the NHL and the Tampa Bay Lightning. So thank you a million for coming on Hockey Night Insider. It is so appreciated.
My pleasure, guys. Love the show and really, really, truly appreciate you having me on. I'm happy to come back anytime. Maybe we get the studios to pony up and we'll make a series out of this. What do you say?
I love it. I'm in. All right. We will be right back for Hockey Night Insider after this break.
right, back with you on HNI, and we're going out to the Rockies for this one. Rory Mushlin joined the show, and Rory, you've got a really thing coming up, and there's so much to talk about in regards to it, but we'll start with there's a Memorial Day tournament coming up at the Parker Fieldhouse, so anybody that's in the Colorado area, get on board with this. We'll put the link down there. But you and a young man by the name of Jacob Harrison have done a real cool thing. You've created what we're calling Jahm hockey, and I'll let you sort of explain it all, but in crux, it's a great way to get a lot of people involved in the sport of hockey, and I just love it.
Yeah, I think, it was, Jacob had this vision of creating a group that would allow more exposure to the game. I think when you look around the state of Colorado, the roller hockey community has kind of shrunk over a few years and recently has started to make a comeback. And with that, though, creating accessibility, I think, was such a huge piece. So having met Jacob a couple years ago through the roller hockey community, I got an opportunity to coach with a team that he put together. And from that, he had this vision of Jahm hockey. And, the goal here is to really invite people that may not have that opportunity. We're doing everything we can to keep costs down. So when you look at our overall registration rate and all of those things to participate, working with sponsors to come in the door, all of that is with the goal in mind to allow anyone who wants to participate to walk in the door and be able to really, put a foot down and establish themselves in the roller community.
Very cool. Very cool.
Now, what are your origins with hockey? Have you been playing since you were a kid and you've always just, been a part of the sport? I'd love to hear about where you kind of, got things started.
For sure. For me, I was born and raised in New York City. And so I played all the way through basically my freshman year of college. But really at that point, I knew that my playing career was limited. And so I decided to kind of fall into the operations world. So I've been in the operations world now for about 25 years. Started when I was 16, learned to drive a ice resurfacer before I had a license. And so I've been in the hockey community for a really long time. I had the opportunity to work at the professional level. I worked with the San Jose Sharks organization, as well as I was the assistant manager of arena operations at Barclays Center for the New York Islanders. And then from there, kind of back into the community world. But most recently, I was the chief operating officer of Advent Health Center Ice in Wesley Chapel, Florida. And with that, we were the host location for Tours National Championships with roller hockey. And so through that, I kind of got even more into the roller community. And then when I got hired by South Suburban Parks and Recreation out here in Colorado, having all these guys so close that play between different rinks in the area, including Parker, Xfinity, and Colorado Springs. It was just a great opportunity to jump behind the bench and continue to coach and help these young men and women grow, both as athletes, but also as human beings.
And now that you're out in, yeah, and a pretty long career across kind of a bunch of different platforms too, which is kind of cool.
It is. Yeah, it's definitely taken me across the country. I think I've lived in like 9 states now, but all progressive in the hockey community. I've gotten to work at every level, from a single sheet facility in northern Minnesota, which is where my boy was born, all the way through the NHL level. So I've had a really cool opportunity. We're sitting right now at Robeson Arena in Colorado College, where I drive game nights for them. And obviously they're about to host a playoff series. So really cool opportunity for me to be able to have an imprint in a lot of different areas.
How has the growth of game in the roller game in Colorado been for you? I mean, I know that you're sort of newer here, but obviously being involved with you the way you are with Jacob, how has that growth been? Because it was thriving for a while. I feel like it's tailed off and maybe now it's coming back a bit.
I agree. I think when you look at also the influx of people from California, from other areas, one of the things, having been in Florida recently as well, the non-traditional markets for ice have seemed to become more traditional. And with that, I think you're seeing a bigger expansion of the roller game. And also, as you're seeing players like, the Connor Bedards of the world, the people that have made pro ice hockey also having played roller, I think you're seeing a lot more of that. I don't know what I'd call it, fallacy, but basically that concept that roller hurts your ice game. And as that's slowly tailed out the window, and with that, that's allowed, the roller game to pick back up again. And I think it's also people, right? People who are involved, like Jacob, who is, getting creative, coming out of the woodwork with something new and exciting, but also seeing that the skill development is still there. And I think that has really increased the opportunities. But I still think in Colorado specifically, we need more opportunities, right? More opportunities to play the game. And there is still, I think there's less of a separation between ice and roller. I think more and more you're seeing both players play both. And so it's a good introduction for those who may not have the funds to play ice right away, to still put a hockey stick in their hand, get on the rink, understand what the game's about, and then be able to transition into the ice world.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's been kind of a common theme, the whole ice versus roller that we've always, talked about on this show. As far as your tournament's concerned, what's the format look like? Do you have it down as far as, how to become the champion, if you will?
Yeah. So unlike, I think, your traditional roller tournament, we're going 3 periods. And so they're swapping ends twice. We're kind of playing it like the traditional ice hockey game. And there will be an all-star game like you find it, traditional roller tournaments. Awesome. But then as you get into the playoffs, we're doing some fun stuff with like overtimes. Everything into the finals will be basically, you go into overtime, you play 5-on-5, then you play a 4-on-4, then you play a 3-on-3 before we get to a shootout. So we're trying to eliminate some of those things, and really just kind of create creativity throughout, to change up the traditional roller hockey format and really bring people in. Again, trying to make it a very unique situation. When they think Jahm, and especially red, white, and Jahm, we want them to really have a cool opportunity to do something completely different than they're normally doing. Even at things like Wish Cup and all those other things, pretty standard roller format. We wanted to change that up and kind of get creative.
Where are you thinking in terms of the number of teams? Where are you kind of getting teams from? What kind of skill level are you expecting for the tournament? Where's that kind of shaping up right now?
So this is definitely geared at a travel level. So I think it's going to be a skilled tournament. We're working with different organizations that we've partnered with in the past or seen in other places. We did reach out to like Henderson, Tennessee, which was a group that hosts Wish Cup. We were there last year as a team. And so we've really branched out, trying to reach out to the roller community. But we also really want to see Colorado. I think it's really important for us to see those local groups as well, because we really want to, again, create exposure here in the state as well. In terms of how we're going about that and gameplay, I think realistically, it's going to be very high intensity. We want them to be really competitive hockey games. But at the same time, we're also looking around, the Tors, the Narches, all of those things, so that we're not directly competing with their time frame. This was an open block here in Colorado that didn't have something currently scheduled. And so it was a good opportunity for us to kind of jump in and really, again, give us another opportunity. We didn't want to take away anything by competing. We wanted to give someone another opportunity to come out and skate.
That's great. Now, switching gears here, it sounds like, you were raised in New York and now you're out in Colorado. Who's your hockey team? Who's that hockey team you've always been following in the NHL?
The man's been in 9 states. He could have anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm born and raised in Manhattan, so I think naturally the New York Rangers have to be the team that I follow. But obviously, I currently run the practice facility for the Avalanche, so there definitely is some allegiance there as well. So I guess between those two right now, and having my kid born in Minnesota, he loves the Wild. So those are really the 3 teams that we follow.
Now, then, follow-up question: what are your thoughts on Rempe right now, just tearing up the NHL for the Rangers?
I think last night, for instance, I think, the game against St. Louis, he got a little more playing time. I think he averaged about 10 minutes last night. With that being said, I think he finally showed the hockey skill versus just I'm going to be big and brute and have that mentality. To be fair, I think he was challenged a lot, and it wasn't necessarily his instigation that caused some of that. But we love the energy. I mean, the Garden was chanting his name before Igor's last night, so that should tell you something about where he sits, right?
Yeah, boys, kid's a beast.
So, Rory, I know you have Jacob with you, and I want to bring him on and ask him a question in just a minute. But, I think in a world that we currently live in, where I am moderately disappointed more than I'm not in our youth these days. Tell me what struck you so much, and what's so special about this young man who really is working hard to create something that's very special for people who otherwise wouldn't have it.
Yeah, I mean, this is his vision for sure. Both the team, so we have a team called the Good Guys, following the Chucky theme, and also Jahm. Really his vision. I think a couple things. I think one, the responsibility factor, the ability to communicate with both parents, the players. He handles a lot of the financials in the sense that he's collecting and distributing. But having said that, we have a team of professionals, I would say, that are here to support and work with him, and continue to kind of create an envelope around him to work through all these things. But for someone who 14, 15 now, to have the responsibility of kind of leading that charge and producing a vision, I think that's the hardest thing, right? We talk a lot about being able to see things, but actually being able to take that vision and put it on paper, create a business plan, and then execute, takes someone really special. And I think he's done an amazing job doing that. And I think if you look in, through NHL Network and through the league, a lot of your analysts are goalies. Well, this one's a goalie too. And that tells you a lot about where his mentality is and how he kind of approaches the game.
One of my favorite guys is Kevin Weeks. Whenever I'm working with Weeksy, it's always a fun time. And
he's awesome.
That's for sure. Hey, let's talk to Jacob for just a second, if you don't mind. He's there. I'd love to
absolutely.
Ask a quick question, and then we'll come back and say bye. The man.
What's up, Jacob?
Hey. So, hey, tell me about just what made you want to do this? I mean, for a 15-year-old kid, it's pretty selfless to be putting other people before yourself. So what was it about why and maybe the game of hockey that kind of pushed you to want to do this and create this thing?
Well, a big part of it, I mean, obviously already super limited to what we have in Colorado. So with it being my hometown, I definitely liked to add some more options. But also, like, going to the Wish Cup, the All-Star game was such a cool thing for me. And, like, I imagine playing in it would be super fun. So I figured if we had an All-Star game, that would definitely bring some more people in, as well as it just being a cool, fun experience for all the players.
Parks, you got one for Jacob?
Jacob, you're a goalie, and I like to ask goalies this question. Do you use the bootstraps or no?
Actually, it's very controversial, but I use no straps with my skates. No toe ties, nothing.
Wow. Okay. That is one way to do it. Love it, Jacob. Thanks for coming on.
Who's the guy you look up to, Jacob? Who's your goaltender? Who's your goalie idol?
Oh, it's got to be Flower, just because, I mean, you'll rarely ever find him too mad, and I like to keep a good personality during hockey, so definitely probably Flower.
All right, Marc-Andre Fleury is a heck of a good choice. What are you most excited about? Last question for you here. What are you most excited about for this tournament, and sort of kind of what's coming up for Jahm hockey? What are you most looking forward to? What do you want to get out of it?
There used to be a 4-more tournament season here, so bring some of those teams in and kind of maybe set a new thing with overtime, 3 periods. I think 3 periods is important because, like, it's another period to reset yourself and start a new game, potentially with a comeback or whatever you need.
I love it. Good stuff, my friend. Congratulations on everything. Good luck. Wish you the best of success moving forward. And I'm a Colorado guy as well, so I'm looking forward to stopping by the tournament on Memorial Day.
Good idea. Thank you.
All right. We'll bring Rory back on real quick and say goodbye. Awesome. All right. Well, Rory, listen, we can't thank you enough for coming on. Again, can you just hit us with the dates and the specifics on that tournament? And we'll put it online here as well. But where can people go to get signed up for this?
Yeah. So jamhockey.com. Yes. jamhockey.com is where you go to get signed up. We're doing Memorial Day. We're starting tentatively Friday evening, going through Sunday. There will not be play on Monday. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be a different type of roller tournament. But I think when people walk in the door, they're going to be like, wow, this is organized. We're ready to roll. A lot of positive things. And I think the energy is going to be a little different. I think when you walk through that door, we want that energy to be, 100% all the time. Whether it's, just the all-star game or how we approach everything, working with our vendors, our opportunities throughout, Colorado. And also, I mean, what better place, right? I mean, if you're out here, right? When you walk out the door to Parker Fieldhouse, you're facing the Rockies. And sometimes there's just that moment when you're like, okay, this is definitely a hockey place. And that's what we want to create. We want to create that new hockey environment again.
That John Denver guy knew what he was talking about.
It's just a little bit.
Yeah. Rory, thank you so very much for coming on. Best of luck with the tournament. I'm looking forward to stopping by. I will be there on Memorial Day weekend to say hello, and good luck with everything.
Really appreciate your time, guys.
Take care, Rory. All right. Hey, don't go anywhere. We got more Hockey Night Insider. When we come back, Parks and I will be right back with you after this break. Don't go anywhere.
Another great episode of Hockey Night Insider, number 4 in the books. Such great guests. Love everything Travis had to say. Mikey Butters was great as always. And I'm super impressed by what the Jahm hockey guys are trying to do. And by that young man, Jacob. I mean, that's an old soul and a mature young man with a really great vision. I love seeing that.
Well, I'll tell you, much more well-spoken than I am, even at 31 years old. So he came on here and just absolutely hit it out of the park. It was great getting that little, Travis, he definitely hit me off guard with that controversial opinion at the end, talking about, letting the refs, just kind of let everything go. I would love to see hockey. And I'm sure a lot of people that watch roller hockey would love to see, those big calls let go. Cause it is tough when you got a, 4-on-3 and that's how they score the winning goal. So really cool to talk to Trav and Mike Butters, just an OG of the game. Absolutely excited to, have him back on the show and talk to him more about just hockey in general. So it was just fantastic. Great conversations as always, Giz. And who you got in the playoffs? I know we keep talking this. I know, some big things are happening.
I'm so torn. I'm really interested to see if this is the year for Edmonton. I mean, they looked good against LA. They really did. Obviously, I got a sentimental attachment to the Kings with number 11 there with the C on his chest. So, gosh, I'd love to see him get another one, and selfishly, that would be a lot of fun. But I don't know. I think I really like the Kings. I like Edmonton. That Colorado game, like we were talking about at the very beginning of the show, was super wild to start. And out of the East, I mean, New York looked really good. Carolina looks really hot right now. They might be peaking at the right time. So hard to pick one, but in the next couple of weeks, we'll nail it down a little bit more.
I like to see. I'd like to see the Maple Leafs, finally pull through. I feel like the Oilers. Yeah. You got the Oilers out in the West, and then you got the Maple Leafs out in the East. Really trying to get over the hump that they've had in these playoffs. But I don't know if the Maple Leafs can get past the Bruins. It's looking like the Oilers might be able to get past the Kings in the first round at least, but they have a hard road ahead of them even if they do that. So we'll see what happens this year for the NHL.
Definitely be good for hockey if the Toronto Maple Leafs win the Stanley Cup. No question about it.
Yes, question about it.
All right, buddy. Well, great job as always, Parks. Stick with us. Thank you so much for joining us. Big shout out to our producer and the man behind all of the beautiful things that you see, Mr. Steven. Make sure you follow us on all of the social media handles. You see those between Parks and I. So keep up with what's going on. Get the word out about Hockey Night Insider. We want to keep it going and keep bringing you all these cool stories and these cool interviews. So for all of us here at Hockey Night Insider, Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us. And we will see you on the next episode, episode 5 of Hockey Night Insider, coming soon.
It's over! Good afternoon and good night! The king is dead!